Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I'm back in Sweden and back to work. And I wanted to talk about um, empathy and intuitiveness. And there was a poll that inspired me by Psych Casserole asking people um, if INFPs are emotionally intelligent. And my answer is maybe. The most common answer would probably be yes, because, well, NFs are empathetic by definition, um, almost. But does emotional intelligence, what does that mean? What does it comprise of? What are the skills or traits or talents that creates emotional intelligence? In my search if I'm autistic or not, I've been researching and about well, social, basically what my problems are socializing or that kind of thing. I've also been in conflicts lately about asking myself, what is empathy? Am I empathetic? Do I have lack of empathy? And this is something that is very difficult because we can only experience our own brains, right? So we can only observe how other people act and their stories and figure out from their perspectives if our perspectives line up with theirs. And feelings are not quantifiable in the same way as facts are, so it's difficult to get to an actual conclusion about this. Also, different languages have different meanings of these words. I mean, there's in English where you have so many different words. I speak Swedish and French, and there are subtleties in different languages. In English, there's the difference between compassion and empathy and sympathy, and other kinds of things. And I won't go into all of those definitions because it doesn't really matter. Because everybody is going to have different definitions of it, it's going to be difficult to define in general. I wanted to take up somebody's Zeal 2645, who replied to the comment to the poll that Psych Casserole made, who is a psychology student. And she said that there are 4 parts to emotional intelligence. This person seems to know what they're talking about. So, and this person is an INFP 911. So there are 4 parts. There's self-awareness, self-management, so like regulation, social awareness, how you do will affect others, how others are feeling, etc., and relationship management, interpersonal abilities. This person argues that even unhealthy INFPs will have self-awareness due to FI, but that might not be always so true, actually. But for me, out of those 4, the self-awareness is my biggest thing. I've done a few EQ tests now, and it's confusing. It's difficult. I've done a few because of my possible autism or whatever. I don't know. I used to always pride myself in that I thought that I was very empathetic because I have a lot of feelings, because I am very sensitive. But that might not be the case. At the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm egotistical or narcissistic or whatever, because these things are not either or. It's not black or white. It's not a scale either. These things are different. They're different concepts that do not exist on us like either or. I'm guessing that some people who are narcissists can empathize with people. Okay, some people who are kind lack empathy. Some people who lack empathy are egotistical, but some people who lack empathy might be very selfless. There are all sorts of different terms, and to say that you're either one or the other and you can't be two things at the same time is reductive. I think that the difficulty for me would be social awareness, like what I will do would affect others, because sometimes I'm not sure, and how others are feeling. I can know often. I can feel it sometimes, but sometimes I'll be kind of oblivious of what's going on. I'll be feeling a certain vibe, but I don't know what is actually going on, and being kind of confused. So that's where some misunderstandings in my life have come from. And that's what I'm researching when it comes to autism, because some autistic people have hyper empathy and some people have a lack of empathy. But a lot of these people with lack of empathy can also be very kind and want to help people, even if they don't feel the emotions that other people are feeling. They can still want to help. And so that's where cognitive empathy comes in. Like, you can understand that somebody is suffering and suffer, like put yourself in their shoes. And I do that quite a lot. I can also feel when somebody else is feeling sad, but I won't pinpoint what actually is going on. I'm not very good at reading social cues or figuring out clues from people's expressions or stuff. I just get a feeling, but it's not like some people that I've noticed figure things out and can explain what they see. I don't know. So that's where my social awareness is not great. Also, my self-management, my regulation is not always that great, because I have difficulty, I have big, strong emotions, and sometimes they overwhelm me. But I think that it's kind of coupled to self-awareness. The more self-aware you are, the more you should be able to figure out how to manage it as well. I think that self-management is a skill that you can learn unless the problems are much deeper than that and you're mentally unstable, but it is something that I can struggle with, definitely. I've taken several IQ tests and I end up kind of in the general population. I don't end up, when I was younger, I would end up high in the empathy, in the EQ, because I remember doing it when I was 16, 17. But also I had a more vague, I think that I kind of wanted to trick the test and to make it seem like I was very empathetic. And also I kind of sometimes did not really understand the question, because you can interpret these questions very differently. Some people, they'll tell you I feel for animals it's much stronger than I do people, and that could be a sign of empathy, but it could also be a sign of that you value animals a lot, and that you try to put yourself into the animal's shoes or paws or whatever, and it's not exactly the same thing. Also, you might really empathize with animals, but then like not be socially aware at all. And so then like your empathy quotient just, or emotional intelligence, is different, and so in the end it balances itself out. And so I ended up like in the middle, but it's because I score higher on certain points, but I score lower on other points actually. And what I score low on is not knowing how my actions will affect others, because it's not always obvious, these things. And also, and it's not like I don't care that my actions affect others. It's just that sometimes I'm kind of oblivious to it because I'm so caught up in my thing. I don't have a fee, okay? I don't really know. And also, I don't have NI either. So, like, for me, the future, the consequences, my actions, like in my world, like my actions don't have a impact on the world, And I feel like I'm always like in this little bubble floating around when actually that's not the case. Even though I'm pretty good at being in my bubble. So being in this INFP headspace is kind of weird, because some people will think that you have a terrible amount of empathy, and some people will think that you have no empathy at all. And that's where the selfish stereotype and all of that self-centered, self-absorbed, whatever words you can use, comes from, because it is kind of true. It's kind of true, but it's not egotistical, It's not like that we are putting others down by trying to push ourselves up. It's just that we are absorbed in our own little world. And so that can be difficult for FE users to get, but yeah. Because empathy is not actually goodness, okay? This is something that actually is pretty important to me. When I was growing up, I thought that empathy equals goodness. And so I wanted to be empathetic at all costs, even if it made me super sensitive and incredibly unstable. That did not make me emotionally intelligent. I was just trying to fulfill the expectations of society, and I wasn't very good at it. Because I would see these FE users, ESFJs, ISFJs, taking care of people, and I wanted to do that, I want people to be happy around me. I want to be able to take care of people, but just I cannot be as selfless as that when I lead with FI and everything. My sense of purpose and meaning in the world revolves around my identity. It's difficult to be selfless and giving, and also be practical in the real world and offer people what they want and need practically. So offering someone a drink when they come to your house, that kind of thing, it just feels unnatural, slightly awkward, and I'm not really good at that. And so people might think that that's me not displaying, like, my awkwardness is a sign that my emotional intelligence is lower. And it could be. But empathy and knowing how to help people practically and that kind of thing is not in itself a sign of being good. Like, yes, these things go together often, but just because you are kind of lost of how to practically help people, or just because you have difficulty with like actually feeling the empathy and understanding what other people are feeling, and that kind of thing, doesn't mean that you are a bad person. It doesn't make you any lesser. Yes, empathy is very important, but and I do find it as a value of mine. I want to be the empathetic person that can help people. But there are other ways to be kind, you know? There are other ways to be good. And just because you lack empathy doesn't mean that you can't show empathy, or that you, or that you help people even though you feel it's awkward. You don't need to be a natural at it to like try your best and be a good person. And there doesn't need to be put so much moral value on things that some people can't control. And I saw a video by Love Who, which was about what disgusts personality types the most. And for INFPs, it was conformity, which kind of makes sense. Though I would say like maybe dishonesty might be a little bit stronger for me. But for INFJs, it was lack of empathy. And that's where things kind of come apart between the INFP and the INFJ, because INFJs have FE and they have NI, so they are good at this. I mean, they can tell the consequences of what they do, how it will affect others, how others are feeling, social awareness. They are also good at self-management if they've worked on themselves and such. They're often good at relationship management, interpersonal abilities. And they just cannot really stand people who lack empathy. But sometimes lack of empathy does not mean total apathy. And sometimes it is morally neutral, basically. Sometimes, like, it's like IQ, you're born with a certain amount of IQ. There is some cultural differences and stuff, but it's not like you can affect your IQ. Same thing goes for EQ. You can try to, like, work on being kind, but there are certain skills that you can develop within this, but certain things are just how we are wired. It's like how MBTI is how we are wired. If an INFP suddenly tried to be an ESFJ, things would not come as naturally to them. Doing the SI stuff, doing the FE stuff, these things would not come naturally to the INFP. And they would struggle a great deal trying to be someone who they're not. I'm not saying that we need to be mean and only think of ourselves and that kind of thing. I'm just saying that we need to have a little bit of grace for each other and understands that we can't affect the way that people feel, and we can't affect like the abilities that certain people have, the gifts that we all have. We can't judge people based on things that they cannot control. And so that's why I think that, yes, emotional intelligence is very important to me, so that I can live an emotionally rich life, have good relationships with people, contribute to the good in the world, all of that. But this is not the only requirement, and it doesn't really need to be a requirement if you have good intentions. So that's what I had to say about empathy today. It's kind of funny how I'm coming full circle with this channel, because I started my channel talking about empathy and talking about synesthesia, and I'm coming back to autism, which often is coupled with synesthesia, and I'm coming back to the empathy. It's funny to see, because my thoughts on the subject have kind of changed, but kind of not. And I feel like I've grown so much as a person since the last time I made a video about this. I wonder what you guys think. Maybe you have completely different values than me and think that it's extremely important. And I know that I'll be hurting some people, because a lot of us INFPs, we pride ourselves on being empathetic. And I have done so too. But I think that we need to try to just reflect on what these words actually mean, what is actually important, and not judge each other for dumb stuff, okay? And not just assume things either. So that's it. Have a great day. Bye.